Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Jacqueline Sambor. She is the communications specialist for the National MS Society, the Connecticut chapter. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me be here.
I kind of want to say welcome back because you've been here in the studio before. It's just that you've been off, you haven't been on the air yet, right?
Right.
So,
I'm kind of a more behind the scenes type of a person in
Not anymore.
photography, but I'm more than welcome to share what we do.
it says communications specialist, so that means that's like another way of saying PR, right? For the
It
most
is.
part.
It's PR, it's marketing, it's all the logistics. It's great.
The National MS Society Connecticut chapter, what is it basically?
Well, the National MS Society Connecticut chapter is our local chapter of the national organization. What's really neat about the Connecticut chapter is, unlike some other chapters that have a region and get really kind of thinned out in places, the Connecticut chapter involves all of Connecticut, and we only serve the constituents living in our state. So we can really deal with legislative issues and working with local health care. So we really have the opportunity to provide programs and services and support for all Connecticut residents who are living with multiple sclerosis.
Now, I know that Rhode Island has their own too, because we'll be doing a separate Rhode Island show. Is there a reason why they decided to not make it so much New England as opposed to like individual states? Was it just kind of biting off more than you could chew, so to speak, as far as territory maybe? Or?
I think it has a lot to do with population and need and how things can kind of be grouped together. So Greater New England is Massachusetts and Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine and some parts of New York.
Northern New England, basically.
Yes. But then Southern New York is just New York City, essentially. So it's really depending upon what people need and what services we need to provide and how it kind of works out.
You know, you mentioned in your description there legislative. As we tape today, you were up at the Capitol today, right? Governor Malloy was receiving,
Yes.
he's involved heavily with the society, right?
He is so strongly involved. He's been a great person to work with over the past few years. The National MS Society actually recognized him today as the 2014 MS Governor of the Year. So the people who work at the chapter in the Programs and Services Department wrote up a really good proposal as to why he should receive this award, and he was picked out of all the governors who were nominated. So he was recognized today at the state capitol as part of MS Action Day in Connecticut. We have over 100 constituents there right now meeting with their legislators, bringing attention to all the priorities that affect people living with multiple sclerosis and other like disabilities. And then next week is the Public Policy Conference in Washington, D.C., so Governor Malloy will be recognized again then. I don't think he's going down there, but it will be shared with the masses.
So that's just one little aspect of the legislative aspect of it, but there are so many other things that you guys do, including a lot of events, which is another way not only to raise money, but also bring attention to it, because a lot of other organizations and a lot of other things that stricken human beings, like for example, breast cancer gets a huge push, like for example the NFL, when you see the pink logo all over the field, that's huge. And you know, you want the organization that you're representing to actually be out there as much as possible as well, right?
Exactly. We want people to recognize that the MS Society exists, that we're here, that we offer all these great services. So a huge part of what we do is all the fundraising events, the brand awareness, the actionable awareness, where people see us, know what we are, and know what they can do to help.
When you mentioned services, let's kind of get into the minutia of some of the services.
Sure. So just in our chapter, we have a services and programs department that is comprised of 4 people currently. And you can call if you are living with MS, if you are a caretaker for somebody living with MS, or if you just kind of want to know more about what we're about and what we can do. We offer financial assistance. We offer support programs localized all throughout the state. We offer caregiver support. We offer family support. We help with care management. We help connect people to the right doctors. We have referral services. Anything
That's a lot. Yeah.
Just about anything you could possibly have a question for as to how we might be able to help you live your best life, even though you are battling multiple sclerosis, they will find a way to help you.
You know, one thing that I want to glean in that you mentioned there is family or even caregivers, because so many times when we talk about a disease and the person afflicted with it, it's also very affected the family or whoever's close to you, living with you, or the caregiver. They are affected as much as the person themselves, and they need help too, right?
Most definitely. Multiple sclerosis, being what it is, can affect each individual person differently. So some people might have one relapse and then not have one for a few years, but for some other people who have a harder time of it, maybe have a more progressive form, it can really become something that has to be managed properly. And obviously nobody is expected to have everything known about multiple sclerosis, and if someone in your family is newly diagnosed and you're not a nurse or a doctor yourself, it can kind of be daunting to say, what am I supposed to do? I'm here, I'm trying to support my loved one. And so we want to get them the support they need, as well as the assistance they need and the guidance. And a huge part of that is caregivers, and the other huge part of that is family. If you have a mother or a father who has been diagnosed, a child might not really understand what's going on and what they need to do. And when they start getting older, we offer programs that the entire family is welcome to come to. So they have programs to learn, they have therapy sessions where they can learn to communicate better. But a lot of what we do, we have something called Family Discovery Weekend in August. And that invites the entire family. If you have grandparents you're living with, if you have cousins or nieces or nephews, or young children that are in your family, you can come out. We offer programming that's fun for the kids to get involved with. We offer a lot of support services, but it's just a way to show everybody involved and everybody who is some way affected by someone living with MS that we're here for you too.
Now, you're not medically trained, right?
I am not.
How? But do you try to do as best job as you can with keeping up with how medical advancements with multiple sclerosis is advancing, and how do you do that?
Of course, it's a lot.
It's daunting. Speaking of daunting, right?
Daunting, yes. Yeah. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of keeping on top of what's going on, especially in Connecticut. In the past year, we've had more than $7 million offered up by the National Multiple Sclerosis Society alone to give grants and support to researchers in our state looking at multiple sclerosis. So that speaks volumes to everything that's going on. We have a small state, and we have that amount going on here at UConn Health Center, at Yale. There's a few other independent places that are doing some research.
So much stuff to get to, but I do want to get to the events coming up, because that's an important part of why you're here today. It's what we talked about before. Not only does it get the word out, but it's also, these are great fundraisers, and they happen throughout the year. The first one will be coming up in April, assuming that we are not still in the ice age that we're in right now.
Hopefully.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so our biggest fundraiser of the year is Walk MS. So this year we have 11 sites across the state taking place over 2 different weekends. The development department wanted to give people an opportunity to, if they couldn't make it on one weekend, that they could go to another site on another weekend.
And I bet you there are people that are so into it that they might travel to multiple sites, right?
Maybe.
You might be at more than one, right?
I will definitely be at least 4.
Right.
But on April 18th, we have walk sites in Enfield, Fairfield, and Madison. And then on the 19th, we're in Cheshire, Waterford, and West Hartford.
So you are covering the whole state with all these things,
yep.
right?
And then on the next weekend, Saturday the 25th, we'll be in East Hartford at Rentschler Field. And then the last day we're having walks is the 26th. We'll be in Litchfield, Simsbury, Stamford, and West Haven. But all that information is on our website.
So tell me how the walk works. You sign up. Do you do it in teams?
Yes.
How does it work?
So Walk MS is unique in that you don't have to pay a registration fee.
Oh.
Anybody who wants to come out and walk, you go to ctfightsms.org and you can sign up as an individual. You can register and start a team, or you're welcome to join somebody else's team. So all you have to do is you go in, you plug in your basic information, and you automatically get a fundraising page. You can name your team, you can invite others, but we really encourage people to take that and on social media or
spread the word,
doing
right?
fundraisers to spread the word and really get that team atmosphere going, because the more people we have at Walk, the more fun we're going to have and the more awareness we're going to raise.
Baby strollers, dogs on leashes, all that stuff's okay?
All are welcome. Each site has a 2.5 mile as well as a 5 mile option that are fully handicap accessible. So anybody who has power chairs, if they need to have a walker with them for some stability, if they have a cane, anything, you can go out on these walks and participate.
Rain or shine event?
Rain or shine.
And we should probably add snow to it because, we don't know. Now, if someone physically really isn't able to participate in the walk themselves, I'm sure they can be there for moral support.
Yes.
Or at least maybe if they're able to make a financial donation, you'll certainly accept that, right?
Yes, all donations of any size are most welcome, but if you have MS, if you want to support somebody who's walking for you, come out. We're going to have a lot of entertainment. We have DJs at all the sites and radio stations. Sometimes we get high school bands or dance troupes to come out and entertain the folks. And at the end of the walk, after people pass the finish line, there's Subway provides all the sandwiches for lunch for all 10,000 walkers that we'll have. And Coca-Cola provides the beverages as well. So you get free lunch.
I was going to ask you how much corporate support you get, not just for things like that, but financial support or support in other ways.
A lot,
Yeah.
a lot. We couldn't do what we do without our partners throughout the community.
How about volunteers? Are you always looking for them for events like this?
Always, especially this time of year where we're gearing up for Walk, but all the other events that we have as well. We have one person their job is to coordinate all of our volunteers. That's how heavily we depend upon them. So
regardless of their skill set, there's something for everybody
there
to
is
do.
something for everyone. You can be manning a table with information. You can be an advocate. You can be helping pass out sandwiches. Anything that you want to be involved with, we have a spot for you, and we would love for you to come.
I'd like to volunteer to eat some sandwiches too. You'll probably make me walk, but that's okay too. Now, what will you be doing at a particular event? Will you be running around like crazy?
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's the part I love about my job. The major thing that I do is I love to say that I'm the person who is connecting the person living with MS to the greater world so that they can share their story and raise awareness. So I will be running around with my camera. I'll be inviting radios to come out. I'll be inviting newspaper reporters as well as the television cameras to come capture what's going on and relay that information to the public. But I also love taking pictures and interviewing people who are out there. So I know their story, I get to interview them a little bit, and then I'll write it and share it with the papers that weren't able to come out.
For people that want to be involved in the walk in any of those ways that we suggested, what can they do? Where should they go? What's the website?
The website is ctfightsms.org. And right on that homepage, there's a Walk MS tab, and you can go right there, and that'll take you to the registration page.
And throughout the course of the year, there are lots of other events that are coming up. You just kind of spread them out a little bit, right?
We do. So we have Walk in April. It's always in April. And then we have our 2 bike rides in June. The first one is going to be in Windsor on June 7th, and the second will be in Westport at Sherwood Island State Park on June 14th. After that, we have events going on throughout the summer. We have a run that's a Halloween-themed 5K in October. We have women's luncheons. We have a corporate sponsor event called Dinner of Champions.
And all that stuff's on the website, right?
It's all on the website. So just about anything that you think you might want to go to, we have an event that you would love.
Jacqueline Sambor, the communications specialist for the National MS Society Connecticut chapter. Pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me once again.
We will take a short break and come right back and talk to an actual doctor. So stay with us. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Second half of our show, we are joined by Dr. Robert Clark. He is a professor of immunology and medicine at the UConn Health Center, and he is working on a human-based trial. Not a bad thing, not a scary thing. It's a good thing. You're actually looking for more study participants, right?
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
A little bit on your background so people know.
Right. So I'm an MD. I went to Stanford Medical School many, many, many years ago. I trained as an internist, and then I went to the NIH to become a researcher. And from the NIH, went to the University of Connecticut Health Center to mostly do research in immunology and autoimmune diseases. And that was some 34 years ago.
Did you sort of develop an interest in MS in general, or is this that your path has taken you to where you are now?
I had a sister who had very severe MS. And that was diagnosed when I was in medical school. So from the point of medical school, I said, this is what I'm going to do.
It's always when it touches you personally, that a person has a tendency to be more passionate about it.
Absolutely.
They take more of an initiative to learn as much as they can and kind of get very aggressive with trying to fight or battle against it, right?
This is my legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe a little bit more specific on your current research now.
Right. So for many years, we've studied the immune system and how it relates to causing autoimmune diseases. So autoimmune diseases, excuse me, are diseases in which the immune system seems to be playing a role it shouldn't play. Rather than protecting us from viruses and bacteria and infections, it seems to turn on us and cause disease by itself where it shouldn't. So it's as if your police and or your army have become too strong. They stop recognizing the enemy only and say, yeah, we have an enemy here amongst our own cities, our own country that we need to turn on. So it's a regulation problem in many ways, we think.
And that's not the only disease.
Yeah, so the autoimmune diseases include Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, thyroiditis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, the list goes on. But what's an MS, of course. And what's common amongst these is that we believe, though nothing's proved for sure, that the immune system is not acting appropriately. It's acting over what it should do. It's not recognizing ourself, from foreign invaders, bacteria and viruses. And so it's confused and it's too strong. And MS is one of these, and it seems to involve primarily the central nervous system.
Whenever there's a cure for a disease or you successfully fight an ailment or an illness, it's not you just attacking exactly what it is that's wrong. You are basically enabling your body's immune system to do its job, and it is what's killing the disease.
Yeah,
right?
and what's so interesting about this topic is that the newest, hottest, and seemingly most successful cancer treatments right now involve harnessing the immune system to attack the tumors. There's a lot of new work showing this is really effective. A lot of the newer treatments seem to be that way. But there's a other side of the coin. And when you unleash the immune system to attack viruses, bacteria, or in this case, tumors, you have to be careful. Because if they cross the line, they're going to start causing autoimmune disease. And cancer immunology researchers who are doing this always have a red flag up. They're always looking for autoimmune disease developing. So far, that doesn't happen, at least to a significant extent. But the tumor immunologists and the autoimmune immunologists, like we are, we're always looking each other, through the glass window and saying, don't bother me.
You could equate it to like a soldier. The bigger, stronger the soldier, he can go after the enemy, but he also is so headstrong that you have to rein him in.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, he'll just keep going. I only want you to take out this platoon here. Easy there,
That's
buddy.
exactly right. And in fact, in most of these autoimmune diseases that I mentioned, some of, the immune system is very strong. People with autoimmune diseases, in many ways, again, not totally proved, can be seen to have an immune system that's too active and too strong and is not being reined in. And our job is to understand why it's not regulated or reined in and how to do that. And that's kind of one of the things we're looking at in our research.
When an immune system is too strong, what bad things does it do, though? I mean, doesn't it kill every bad thing that can enter your body?
It can. It theoretically does that. But at the same time, antibodies and lymphocytes and attacking lymphocytes are found where they shouldn't be, causing damage: liver, thyroid, central nervous system in MS, joints in rheumatoid arthritis, the colon in ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. It's as if the immune system started off with a good idea and didn't know where to stop.
Right. You can't just flip a switch or call it up on the phone and say, okay, you're good.
And that's what we're all trying to, that's what we're trying to do on the autoimmune side. On the tumor side, they're trying to get it to be stronger.
Right. Now, you said that you've been doing this for a long time.
Have been.
You joked about your age and stuff like that. So this is a perfect question to ask you. Over the course of your time, how has progress been made?
Progress has been made both by basic findings of how the immune system works and how it's regulated and not regulated, and also clinical studies in attempts to harness that, to show that in human systems what works and what doesn't work. And the combination of the basic, mostly mouse studies and cell culture, tissue culture, test tube experiments that then go into humans, that combination reveals an awful lot about what's real, what's important, and what will work. So the progress has been, the majority has been in mouse studies, in animal studies, but we're moving more and more and more towards human studies now.
I find it amazing that does the mouse have the same kind of immune
Yeah, that's a
system?
great question. So
You knew I didn't even have to. You knew exactly where I was going.
Yeah, this
with
is
that.
a wonderful question, and it's a very hot topic right now because for I'm going to say 40 years, the immune system has been studied almost entirely, not entirely, in the mouse. And we're finding as we move into humans that there's a lot that's good, and some of the major MS treatments have come out of mouse studies, so don't get me wrong. But we're learning more and more as we move into human that it's not quite a perfect model and that there are significant differences that we have to take into consideration. So it's a very hot topic right now because people are mostly still doing mouse studies, but there are the naysayers, and they're not wrong to say, hold on, you know, don't think you can always jump from mouse to human.
I'm sure that there's a decent amount of humans that would be willing to be part of a study, especially if they are afflicted with the illness. And you know, a lab rat human being is, you know, if there's a chance that they
Sure.
can somehow be improved in some way.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. So I studied the study I'm doing now. I started about 3 years ago. We put out a call for human volunteers, not to take a treatment, not to take a drug, but to donate blood. And with the help of the Connecticut MS Society, the response was overwhelming. I got more than I could handle. And a lot of those patients said, as soon as this becomes a treatment,
I want it.
yeah, I want it. I want to, I want to be your mouse.
And that's not even suggesting whether, you know, the success rate of it. They
That's
just want
right.
to be a part of it, right?
Yeah, and since I was involved personally with MS, I can totally, through my sister, I can totally identify with their desire. And I tell them they will be. If this becomes a treatment, they'll be the first I'll call.
So then let me ask you this as we get ready to wrap up the show. From your point of view, and this is a question I ask, do you see a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes and no. We've made a lot of progress. The drugs are getting better. The treatments are getting better because our understanding of the immune system is getting better, but we don't have the perfect bullet yet. So yes, everything's improving.
Well, you're fighting the cancer guys too at the same
we're
time,
fighting the
right?
cancer guys, yeah. And it's getting better, but we're not there yet. So yes and no.
But it sounds to me like you have hope for the future. Right?
Great hope.
Yeah, and you're doing the research. You're gung-ho about it, right? So,
We'll not stop.
yeah. All right. Well, so what's next? What's the next thing? What's the next step?
Well, it depends who you ask.
Okay.
Do you want to ask about my work and what I think the next step
Well,
is?
I think that's what you're the most passionate about. But
Right.
if you want to share somebody else's idea too, we'll certainly.
No, I like my own idea.
All right.
So it's clear that genetics plays a role in these diseases.
I was going to ask you about hereditary.
Right. So there's definitely a hereditary component. But if you take identical twin pairs, they have exactly the same genes. Only 1 in 4 of those pairs will both have the disease if one of the pair has a disease. So in other words, if you're an identical twin and your twin has the disease, you're definitely at increased risk. But it's only a 1 in 4 chance. The point is that genes are definitely important, but they're far from the whole story. So there's something in the environment giving that one of the two twins the disease and not the other. So we're all very gung-ho about figuring out, okay, genes play a role. You need certain genes, but that's not enough. If we can identify what's in the environment, we can stop what's in the environment. And my research involves the bacteria that live amongst us normally as the environmental change.
I wish we had more time because this is so fascinating. I got 1,000 more questions to ask. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're going to put the MS website up on the screen one more time. And thank you, Dr. Robert Clark, for being on the show and enlightening us a little bit today.
Thank you.
I think we got to have you back on again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. Till next time, I'm Sean Murphy. We will see you next time. Take care.